Yeah, guys, welcome back to the Kofi Zulu podcast. Today, we want to dive into one topic that has been in the news over the past week. The judgment of Chairman WONTUMI is finally out. I'm sure Chairman WONTUMI currently will be in someone prison. This conversation should not be left for only the politicians, the technocrats, those who direct the cost of Ghana alone. We, the youth, this case is very, very important for us also. We also have to contribute. Trust me, we want to be objective in everything we say. So, Charlie, try listen and make some contributions. Just putting a note down and say something. Now, my question is that there's been a lot of conversation around this topic about the 20 years imprisonment. My question is, if you're a youth out there, do you think that the 20 years is a fair deal? Because some people felt that this judgment has been without merit. Some people felt it's a political witch hunt. What do you think? That is the question. So I would like my friend here to introduce himself. Then he'll share his thoughts on this 20-year judgment.
All right. Thank you so much, Kofi Zulu podcast, for this wonderful opportunity.
Anytime.
My name is Inusa Ahmed Yakubu, the Ghanaian who terms himself as someone who doesn't support mediocrity.
The philosopher.
First of all, I would answer your question by saying that, in fact, judgments are always pronounced at the discretion of the judges.
Yeah.
Even though they are always guided by the law or the rule of law. So, in fact, if it goes in favor of the complainant, the complainant will say it's okay. But if it's in favor of the defendant or the team of the defendant, then they will say that, in fact, that it is harsh or they don't merit it.
Okay.
But as an ordinary Ghanaian, I think that any judgment that will be towards curbing illegal mining in Ghana, I should say that should be a victory for the entire nation.
Okay.
Except to say that clearly we can see any foul play.
Okay. Looking at how for the past years we fought Galamsey, because it has become like an abattoir on every government to find a way to stop Galamsey. Let's try to look at the case. What happened? How did WONTUMI get into the forest?
First of all, I would say that I cannot boldly answer directly as to whether it is fair or not.
Okay.
What determines whether it is fair or not is based on the context, circumstances, and degree of things that went on.
Okay.
That you and I may not be privy to. The extent of damage on the site as we speak, you don't know, I don't know. The context, what informed decisions in the details of what informed decisions, we don't know. So we may not be able to say directly whether it is fair or not.
Okay. Now, with my few checks online, for me, I think it was fair. Why? In fact, it was the MPP that actually passed this law. If you look at the counts that the judge used. So how then is it not fair? Because it is your government actually that put out this law. I quite remember one of the MPs made a comment during that time that he felt that when you are caught doing Galamsey, you should just be shot on the scene. But the story behind how WONTUMI got this sentence was that, according to reports, WONTUMI went in for a license to mine the name Akunta mining. We quite remember vividly when the president even came out to defend Akunta mining, that look, Akunta mining is not into Galamsey. But I felt that this is some of the things that politicians do to enrich themselves within the very, very shortest possible time. He got a license to mine, and then unfortunately, the area, the concession was a reserved forest that normally no one should even go into. WONTUMI got the concession, then he invited those who do the Galamsey to come into the land. What he did was also that he bought equipment and as if hired the equipment for the guys.
Let me give you my take about, first of all, what I have made out of the judgment,
Okay.
the situation surrounding the judgment,
Okay.
and then the contaminating itself.
Okay.
First of all, like you mentioned, the law that is sending WONTUMI to prison now was existing, except to say that anybody who breaches that law would go into prison for 3 years, except that the previous government, that is Nanado government, in fact, in his intention to stiffen the laws that surround illegal mining, took it from 3 years to from either between 15 and 25 years.
Exactly.
Now, Akonta mining has license to mine at exactly where the mining has taken, the concession has taken place, except that the judgment says that his only breach was when he invited other people to join him.
Okay.
Not that he doesn't have the right to mine there.
Okay. He has the right.
He has the right.
But he has invited other people, which he does not have the authority to. And in fact, those people didn't come to mine. They come to do.
Now, I will go into details.
Okay.
Now, the law says that Akonta Mining has invited somebody to join them mine at the concession they have right to mine. And that is why WONTUMI is going to prison now. Except that WONTUMI, in his defense, is stating that he invited the guy in person called Henry Okum to rather come and then reclaim the land, not to mine.
Reclaim
simply means that when you mine, it means they are coming to kind of rehabilitate, afforestate, to put it back to put the land back to its normal shape. So WONTUMI is saying that he invited Henry Okum to come and reclaim the land. Except that when Henry Okum came, he used WONTUMI's machines to further mine. And that is why the law is saying that WONTUMI is at fault and he has to be jailed.
But bro, let's be realistic here. Do you think that you have a mining concession invite another person in without you monitoring what is going on?
Now, first of all, to proceed further, I would say that the law is very explicit and clear. Before you even invite someone to reclaim a land, that person should have the permission from the Lands Commission. And that Henry Okum does not have.
But I heard also that the gentleman cannot be found.
There are two people, aside WONTUMI, Akonta Mining, there are other two people who joined, not one gentleman. The other gentleman called Kwame Bwesiako, who is at large. But Henry Okum, in fact, really even came as a witness during the process of judgment to express himself for the court to listen to him. And in fact, he said that, first of all, he was given the authority to go and reclaim the land. Secondly, when he got there, he really used WONTUMI's machines and equipment to further mine. And it was based on these that WONTUMI was given the judgment, because he didn't seek permission, as the law requires, from the Lands Commission to be given to Henry Okum to mine.
So it means that he pleaded, he did a plea bargain. So he spoke a plea bargain simply means that I was part of the crime, but I want to confess so that you give me a minimum or you let me go. Is it something like that?
It is closer to something like that, except to say that I will come there again. In fact, in this particular case, Henry Okum, as you mentioned, who came using your term as plea bargain, really came as a witness. And the law further states, per the judgment, the law further says that in tackling crimes of this nature, normally kingpins are the target, not those who come as witness. And that is why Henry Okum is exempted from the judgment. That is where personally I have a say. I have an opinion.
You have an opinion. But okay, let's leave that one for lawyers. Since we are not lawyers, we'll leave that aspect.
Yeah.
Now, what are your final says? Before you say something, let me say this. Personally, I think that going forward, even this current government should be able to amend this particular law to the extent that it should be looked in perspective how drug dealers are treated. You know, you go to Italy, you see a lot of empty buildings, expensive stuff. Why? If the government find out that you are caught up in anything like drugs, trust me, they are going to investigate every business that is associated to you. And all these businesses will be confiscated by the state, so that it will serve as a deterrent to people who want to use political powers to do similar things. Because some people also have the view that WONTUMI has employed people. Trust me, in Africa, entrepreneurs.
Now, the difference between the narcotics and what you and the mining is that mining is not always illegal.
Okay.
That is one thing you should get to
know.
No,
but we are talking about the galamsey.
Mining,
but in Ghana, we are talking of galamsey. I'm not talking of mining.
Of course, that's why I want to draw the line, because Akonta mining is not involved in galamsey.
Okay. So
Akonta
the focus,
mining has really gotten the permit to mine.
Okay.
Legally.
Okay. So then I want to look at it from a point of view where galamsey should be categorized around that area.
Good.
Because
and when you talk about galamsey, it cannot come into WONTUMI's case, because galamsey because WONTUMI has not been charged of galamsey. That is one thing all ordinary Ghanaians should know.
Okay.
WONTUMI has never been charged of galamsey.
Okay.
WONTUMI has permit to mine. Akonta mining.
But he allowed others to come and do the galamsey.
Exactly.
And according to some reports, he actually took money from there. My last question for you. I've seen a lot of NPP faithfuls. I've seen some prominent MPP lawyers, like somebody like Justin Kodia, making public pronouncement. And this guy is a lawyer, that the judgment was without basis. This gentleman said this even before the judgment was out. Do you think this prejudice? Do you think that he was talking out of emotions? Is he a good example? What are your views on that?
In fact, to dive very deep into the judgment would demand expertise, would demand knowledge of law. But as an ordinary person, as a layman, what I make out of this is that, one, like I mentioned, it has been established that WONTUMI really has permit to mine.
Okay.
Except to say that he has invited other people to join him there who use his equipment. Now, my opinion is, I have a problem with where 2-3 people involved in a wrongdoing, you would single out one person to say he is the kingpin. And the other people, because they have come to confess and witness, they should go scot-free. That's my first problem with the judgment.
No, but philosopher take time. But I think that in law, those things are allowed. They call them plea bargaining. It is allowed everywhere. But let's leave that aside. I want your take on how I've seen some MPP lawyers making pronouncements as if the judgment was a cooked judgment. But if you look at the evidence, the man is guilty according to the laws. Do you understand? What this thing, because we kind of have a system where in Africa, because the person is a politician, you see that even people who are supposed to be objective, people who know better, who knew better, seems to be defending the wrong. Do you get it? Assuming maybe because you are my friend and I've gone to do something that probably is against the law, and the law came for me. Instead of you being objective, you can sympathize with me, but the law is the law. Now, what are your views on that?
My view is that, and my view on this judgment, it is not necessarily about the fact that it is about WONTUMI or Akonta mining, except that I personally thought that it's about time laws the limits. I think that some of the laws are too open to different interpretation, and that is what is causing all these things.
So you mean that the MPP lawyers or people, the sympathizers, they also have a point to say what
Of course, like I'm saying, personally, I have a point. I have some questions to ask about the law.
Okay.
Because if we are saying that legally, I have a permission to mine here, and I invited my friend to join me mine there, I don't really see why law can be against that.
No,
I really don't see why.
But no, you had permission to mine. They didn't come to mine. They came to do the galamsey. And these things are one of the things that are going on, where people intentionally, because they have the political power, they get access to say, want to mine this concession. But their intention is not to do the mining. So they now invite the galamseyers, take money from them to let them destroy the land and the waters. And that is exactly what he did. So you having a mining license and not doing the mining and allowing people to do galamsey on the land, that is what we are talking about.
That is completely wrong. Of course, it should be wrong because galamsey will always be wrong in Ghana because it's got to do with surface mining. That is spoiling the. So of course, if it's established that in fact in this judgment, Henry Ogum and the other two guys who came really did galamsey, definitely then WONTUMI
that is according to that is liable. That is what has happened.
Liable.
That is what has happened.
Further, what I would say is that in fact the use of law. What we have seen as ordinary people is that the use of law sometimes is not consistent. I'll cite some examples.
Okay.
It is not consistent. And that is why when it happens, so definitely the politicians will come in with their opinions. I agree with them because they are politicians, they will either defend or support. But as another person, what I will encourage this current government to do is to be consistent with application. For example, if you say there's a law causing financial loss to the state and that somebody has been accused of it and is going into prison for that, then we expect as ordinary people that even in your cabinet ministry, if someone also misuses state fund on the president's special initiative, then that should also be causing financial loss to the state where that minister deserves to also be imprisoned. So,
no, but I think the NDC government or this current government is doing well. An NDC MP has been accused of galamsey. As we speak right now, he's also in the courts. I believe that this government is on a course. We are all watching. For me, whether it's NDC, MPP, CPP, if it is in the
wrong, it is wrong. If it is right, it is right.
The nation's interest,
that is good.
If it's wrong, it's wrong. The
country must always be first. That's why I will use my word consistency.
What was your final take?
My final take is that the government has demonstrated that he really wants to fight the cause of galamsey and stop it.
Now, if you are watching this video to this extent and you have still not subscribed to the channel, I want to see you leave a comment. What are your views? You see, the youth, especially those who are in Ghana, it is in your interest to start talking about some of these things. We must not leave these issues for the politicians alone. Be part of the conversation. Be interested in what is happening in Ghana, especially when it comes to national issues. So Charlie, guys, thank you for watching. If you had watched this video to this day, we appreciate you. Like it, leave a comment, and wait for the next one. Thank you for being part of this journey.